You're back with us at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, where we've just seen a British 1-2 with David Coulthard and Eddie Irvine. We'll hear from those two very shortly, but now we're going to have a word with Damon Hill down there ready to talk to us live. Damon, thanks very much indeed for joining us, and very well done, old chap.
Thank you very much.
A good drive, and briefly, I mean, Murray went off the meter when you led the race for a little while.
Yeah, I only just found out I was in the lead when I just got back here. I never knew that bit. I saw P2 at one point, but I didn't know I was leading it. But anyway, it was a strategic position. But anyway, it was a good result, and it was unfortunate that they restarted.
Has it restored your appetite for the Grand Prix game that seemed to have dropped away a little bit in France a couple of weeks ago?
Well, it's always better to have a good race. It does a lot for your motivation. It does a lot for your feeling about things. I kept up with guys who I think that had got equal equipment. I got a little unlucky at the start. At first start, I had a good start, and then they had a restart, so I had to go back to where I was after the restart. But and then I had a mechanical problem at the end. But all in all, it was a good race, and the strategy was good, and gave me a chance to race.
A deserved pat on the back you got there from Eddie Jordan. But let me just ask you about the incident that worried us and your thoughts about Michael Schumacher's accident, Damon. What did you make of that?
Well, it looked like they were racing. Looked like Michael was racing Eddie, but I can't be sure. I mean, he locked up going into Stowe, and he went off a hell of a rate. I was sort of amazed at that point, because I could see the safety car signs were out already. And so I think he obviously was preoccupied with racing and wasn't able to see that. Otherwise, either he had a problem or he was racing. And I don't know what the story is with him, but I hope he's okay. Yeah,
he'll be out for a couple of months, which he's broken his leg, which obviously is not very clever for him, but it's only a couple of months out. It's very soon after the race, Damon, I know, and you've had all the congratulations, and everyone has given you massive applause around Silverstone. Anything to tell us?
No, I'm a little deaf, actually. I can't...
You're not cocking a deafen again, surely?
So you have to speak up. I can't hear anything.
When might you sort of the earplugs come out, and when might the ear to sort of respond and take in an answer to that question about what you're going to do?
Not today. I think we're going to go and have a few beers and think about it.
Yes, I don't blame you. But just your emotions, Damon, really, about what I think it's fair to say is your last drive around this place in a Formula One car.
It's very memorable, and I'm really glad I was able to fight and able to put up a fight. And the reception and the whole weekend's been absolutely brilliant. I mean, the fans have been fantastic, not only for myself, but also for all the British drivers, and to put on a show for the rest of the world as well.
And it's fair to say, without wishing to push you too hard, we can expect something over the next couple of days, can we?
Again, I've got a temporary hearing loss here,
okay.
And we've got to skip that bit, I think.
Well, listen, I hope your arms are working okay, because Louise Goodman's alongside you, I think, and she has a special presentation from us all on ITV, and we're not looking to retire you here, Damon, but we're saying thanks very much for the Silverstone memories in particular.
Thank you very much.
There we go. There you go. Well done, Damon. Thanks from us all. Clean those ears out, eh? Right. Okay. Well, Tony, he's not giving away too much about his future, and I think we'll leave that story alone for a moment, because I think we probably exhausted it now, and it's fair to say there's not much more to come until Monday or Tuesday. But I mean, the crowd are filing away here behind us, and they will be thinking, goodness me, what about Michael Schumacher, and how lucky he is that he's got out of that with just a broken leg.
Well, 5 years ago he wouldn't have got away with it, and he might well have lost his life. But we've talked before about how much safer the cars are these days. It's an interesting point that Damon makes there, that the safety car signs are already out. Now, it looks like it's locked up. We don't know exactly what happened, but that is a huge head-on impact. Now, we've got to think about the fact that the guy has really got away with this one. He's got away with a lot of mistakes in the past. He got away with it in Canada. He's made more mistakes than I think he was preoccupied. He was upset with the handling of the car before the race. He used the words, "I'm disappointed." Now, the fact that he made a poorer start, or Irvine got alongside him there, that also upset him. Right, I've got to get past Irvine quickly before we go back to Stowe. It's just my thoughts. I'm just talking about what I see. This may not be the case, but look at the speed of that at 190 miles per hour, the velocity of that. You think of the strain on the body as the belts take up that full impact there, as the head goes forward, but it's fully padded around there. The wheels and the hubs have all are tethered specially in there. All those safety procedures. Little
wave there, though, that said everything wasn't perhaps quite as bad as we first thought.
Exactly. So Schumacher's got away with it. Now, he'll be in his hospital bed thinking, Nicht so schlecht, eh?
He's probably watching you now, so...
He had, he got no points from Mika Häkkinen, and he'll be giving the doctors and nurses hell. He'll be wanting to know exactly when he can get out, how long it's going to take, and be trying to jump out of bed right now.
But knowing the psyche of Grand Prix drivers, you'd expect him back in a couple of months' time,
I would expect him to be determined now, to be lying there plotting his comeback, thinking about every move, analysing what happened, putting it all through his brain and working out what's going to happen. And Ferrari have also got to work out who's going to replace him temporarily.
OK, Tony, thank you very much indeed. Competition coming up. We'll hear from the top three as well, and we'll be right back. And you're back with us at Silverstone, analysing the RAC British Grand Prix that's ended in a great win for David Coulthard. But when that race restarted after Michael Schumacher's accident, DC didn't restart terribly well, did he?
No, he didn't. He bogged down quite badly, but they've been sitting there for about 40, 41, 42 minutes, and it's a long time to think about everything going cool. There you are, and there's Häkkinen just blasts away on that restart, but Coulthard gets jumped by a fast-starting Eddie Irvine. I've got to take our hats off to Irvine as well there. For a long time, they were probably trying to work out what had happened to Schumacher's car, if there had been any mechanical failure on that. But, of course, Della Rosa had now stopped on the start-finish line. There he is. And out had come the safety car yet again to close them all up. But David Coulthard did a great job because he didn't let Irvine go away. And as we'll see in a while, you know, Häkkinen got into trouble, mechanical trouble.
And once again, a very successful day at work for Eddie Irvine. I'd like to ask you about his move, projected move now that someone says it had already been a done deal that he was going to Stewart. Will it be put on hold now after what's happened to Schumacher?
Well, we talked about it in the qualifying show yesterday, and I'm fairly convinced that he has had a big offer from Ford and that Barrichello potentially may have even signed something at Ferrari. We don't know. There'll have to be a huge rethink, and I'm in agreement with everyone else on the ITV team. I'll have to stop that and say, please, Eddie,
yes,
you know, stay on with us a little bit longer. It depends what will happen. But one thing's clear on this, Irvine, that yoke will have come off his neck, that huge burden of responsibility of being a number two. He will have enjoyed that out there today in the latter part of the race.
Well, he's going to be number one for a couple of months at the very least, isn't he? So yet another start when the safety car peeled away, and yet another scrap.
Yeah, a great scrap between the two of them, and this is the point that Coulthard doesn't let Irvine get away at all and really closes in on him, and it was a great job because David Coulthard, when he goes round like that and he really gets hooked into the track and he gets the scent. He does extremely well, and he said before this race that I'm the Brit to watch, and really today what we enjoyed was a battle of Britain. Because at one point we had all the British drivers up there in the top, and what a great job to have three of them in the top five. There he is, didn't let Irvine go at all, stayed on the case there. Now Irvine in the Ferrari, they were using the new uprated Ferrari engine for the first time. They'd only used it in practice. There it is. And he was really squeezing down on him there on the pit straight, but trying to go around the outside of Copse. There's no way. You can see from our studio here what an awesome bend this is. It's a slight lift. They go into that like 150 miles an hour. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, a few hours back we said Mika Häkkinen had done absolutely everything in the build-up to the race. I mean, we did point out that this isn't a great race for him. He's actually never won it. For a long while, it looked as though he's going to wander away. And then it all went wrong in the pits, Tony.
It's a bit of a jinx circuit for him, isn't it? And as we all know, that Ron is meticulous, the whole of McLaren are meticulous. Now here is the first pit stop. A lot happened in this first round of pit stops. But, you know, on the rear wheel there, they were having problems on that left rear. No, stop, Hank, put on. Now, I've been in that position when you get a cross thread, when all those components are hot because of the brakes, because of the transmission. Clearly it wasn't on the lugs properly this time. You see those little wiggles, he feels it. Just there's something not quite right here, but I'll give it a bit of a test and see what happens. But he has to come back in to get this checked because something is drastically wrong. Now, either that wheel nut there, which expanded.
That's a bad day of work for that fellow, isn't it?
Now, can you imagine he's going to have to do the other pit stops as well, that left rear crew, when Coulthard comes in and make those critical second stops. Have a look at the wheel nut, have a look at the gun, try and fit it back on the lugs with a new wheel because the magnesium alloy wheel doesn't sit comfortably. They expand and contract with the heat as well. And back we go. And all the time we know the seconds are ticking away. Häkkinen's heart has dropped. The crew feel absolutely desolate and desperate. It's an awful position to be in.
Enormous pressure on that poor fellow in there, wrestling away with the wheel nut, eh?
Yeah, and I'm sure it's not their fault. I'm sure it's some sort of a manufacturing process, or the materials have failed.
Well, McLaren got it right when David Coulthard went into the pits, and he got ahead of Irvine, but only just, and he got out, and then there was no holding him.
Only just there, and this was it, because Irvine had come in and he'd gone past his mark very, very slightly, and he'd actually taken 12 seconds on it. But look at that, David Coulthard just rushes across his nose, and it was just past the edge of the yellow line, and you're not meant to go over that yellow line when the car's coming out of the pits. It's a bit of a no-no, but we didn't see him touch it, did we?
No, I don't think so.
Stewards won't be watching this, will they?
And Martin making the point that David is never happier than when he's out front and leading a Grand Prix.
I think a very, very mature performance, the way he settled into that, and he really got into the groove of the thing, and he'd forgotten about his problems in practice with the rear end and with the traction and with the braking and things like that, because he got the scent of victory. He probably saw the Union Jacks fluttering, and he perhaps saw the odd Saltire as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But if Mika Hakkinen wanted confirmation it wasn't going to be his day, there was just the three wheels on my wagon, wasn't they, that confirmed it?
Very dangerous, in fact, for a wheel to come off like that. Last time we saw that was with Villeneuve in Japan, and the wheel actually bounced into the crowd. So we're very lucky that that was on a slow corner. Now, so that's finally parted company with the McLaren, and there will be a huge investigation at McLaren. But as we say, that wheel bouncing back into the track, and we think that that was Fisichella in the Benetton just coming along there, which just missed the nose of his car. So the three-wheel wagon went in to retire. And of course, that second round of pit stops produced such drama.
Yeah, I mean, just looking over your shoulder, Tony, at all the crowds, and there's this great mass of yellow now working their way out into the Northamptonshire countryside, trying to get out of this place. It's going to take hours and hours. But Damon, last time at Silverstone, and for a little while he was out front, and it was great for him, wasn't it?
Well, it's a great moment for everybody here, because they appreciate a great sportsman. They appreciate a genuine and honest driver who's given them a lot of thrills over the years, who's conducted all of his affairs with great dignity. It doesn't matter the fact that he only took it briefly. It doesn't matter. He finished in the points on his last race, and more importantly, he felt happy with his own performance, which you saw when you were talking to him down in the pit garage.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed for the moment, Tony Jardine. Let's pop down to the press conference now. The 1, 2, 3, Coulthard, Irvine and Ralf Schumacher giving their thoughts.
Congratulations, gentlemen, the top three finishers at the British Grand Prix: David Coulthard, Eddie Irvine and Ralf Schumacher. David Coulthard, your 1999 British Grand Prix champion. How do you feel?
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. When I realised after my team got me out in front of Eddie in the last stop that potentially, bar keeping out of trouble, I could win this one, it was more nerve-wracking, I think, than at any point in my career, because it's been such a long time since I had a win. And obviously with Mika out, I knew that the whole team was relying on me to score those points. But nonetheless, I have to say this is definitely the best feeling I've ever had in my racing career. To win this race, I think, is, always has been the one that I would trade for any other win, to win in the British Grand Prix. So it's fantastic, and it's completely down to my mechanics today, who both times managed to get me out in front of Eddie. Otherwise, I think we were, he was a little quicker at the beginning, I was a little quicker at the end. We were pretty evenly matched, so whoever had track position was going to win this race today.
Even better than that, obviously with your two main rivals not scoring, do you think these 10 points put you right back in the championship again?
It's early days for that as well. I tend not to look at the big picture of the championship, because you have to take each race as it comes, and clearly with 4 non-finishes this year, then it hasn't been going that well. But to come back here and obviously, you never want to benefit from an accident one competitor. So obviously I hope that Michael is okay, and I'm not sure of his injuries, but hopefully not too severe. And for Mika, obviously having a problem.
Thank you, David. Eddie, you were going well there, but you had a very long first pit stop. What happened?
Yeah, it was the first time I'd come into the pits really with the McLaren guys out, and I went past the McLaren guys, and next thing I see my guys very, very close to me, and I wasn't going to get stopped really, and I just overshot, and I think that's what took them that little bit longer to get the fuel on, and ultimately cost us the race.
You seem to be able to go a lot quicker, actually, in the race trim. Did you work on the car a lot since warm-up?
Warm-up, yeah, we just tried something. We just tried to make the tyres live longer, but it just wasn't. It was a no-hoper. We persevered with it all morning, but it wasn't going to happen, so we just went back to our standard setup.
Now, obviously, with the injury to Michael, you're now likely to be team leader for a few weeks, and you're actually in the World Championship hunt. How does that affect the way you look at the future races?
I don't know. I don't know what Michael's story is. I don't know. I think I heard he's all right, so he should be back in for the next race, and it'll be business as usual.
What actually happened on that first lap of the first part of the race?
Well, I got a better start. Michael made a really bad one, and I was getting a run at DC through the fast stuff, and DC has a very different line from me through the second part of the fast corners, and I had to lift off and brake to avoid getting to the back of him, and I went wide, and then I just come out onto the straight. Michael was obviously behind me, and then coming into the Stowe corner, he just came flying past me, all four wheels locked and straight on. So I don't know whether he maybe damaged a wing on the back of my car whenever I had to brake because of DC.
Anthony, Ralph, a fantastic drive by you today, but how easy was it for you to get back into the car knowing your brother had just been injured?
Well, I mean, straight after the red flag, I asked what happens, and I first didn't realise what happens, and after Michael was having an accident, the team obviously said me that Michael was out of the car and was nothing bad, but I heard now that he got something broken. I'm not sure what happened. We're going to find out, but well, for 80% he seems to be alright, and that's the most important. And then we look what he has, and obviously it's not so nice as your brother have an accident to go back in the car, that's for sure. But at the other hand, you know, I have a team relying on me, and I have to concentrate on my job.
You drove a great race and you had a long battle Heinz-Harald Frenz, and it seems that Williams has really improved this weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to say our team, or my team, did a really great job bringing that new aero package here to the race. I mean, at the Silverstone test we looked nowhere, and suddenly we were a lot closer, and especially the first pit stop, I have to thank my pit stop crew, because they did an incredible job bringing me out in front of Heinz, and from there on the race went very good.
What a great consistent season he has had, and this is how things look at the halfway stage. Hakkinen 8 points clear of Schumacher. Irvine right up there, second equal now. Frentzen on 26, and Coulthard moving up to 22 points. Ralf Schumacher on 19. And Ferrari just a couple of points in it, in the head of McLaren in the constructors. Jordan a clear third. Williams 5 clear of Benetton. Wonderful day for David Coulthard. Tony, and you've got him swinging a golf club tomorrow, haven't you?
Scott's to do great stuff. No, it is good for us and for Professor Watkins, who was involved out there, you know, with the medical services trying to extricate Paul Michael Schumacher. It's for the British Brain and Spine Foundation tomorrow. David Coulthard is playing with us down at Stoke Poges. About 4 of the other drivers. A lot of the team bosses are coming down. You're coming down, I hope.
I'll be there.
Murray's going to be there. And we're going to raise money for Sid and all his hospitals for a good cause, so that's wonderful.
Just briefly sum up here what it means towards the World Championship in 1999.
Well, Ferrari were in trouble anyway coming into here. I was going to say that Schumacher would have rued that Canadian accent. Water in the works in the steering wheel in France. It was going from bad to worse. They've lost the lead in the World Championship. Now they've got a big setback. We have to think back to other drivers like Niki Lauda in 76, who was badly burned, made a comeback, still took James Hunt down to the wire in 76. It's not over at all. They can still make the comeback. But who will drive the car?
We'll wait and see. Right, Tony, thank you very much. Now it's our competition. Damon Hill has donated proceeds for all the sales of his merchandise here at Silverstone to 2 charities, Down Syndrome and Leukemia Research, and you can play your part as well by entering our competition. All profits go to the Leukemia Research Fund. We're giving away a great trip to next year's Monaco Grand Prix, and not unnaturally the question has a Monte Carlo theme. Lovely pictures. We want to know who's the most successful British driver at Monte Carlo. Is it A. Stirling Moss, B. Graham Hill, or C. Jackie Stewart? A. Stirling Moss, B. Graham Hill, or C. Jackie Stewart. Here is the number to dial: 0900 122 99 66. 0900 122 99 66. The lines close at midnight on Wednesday, July the 21st, and the very best of luck to you all. A little bit later on tonight, the highlights, all reaction to the race at 11:45 tonight. Right, then it's been a great day here for David Coulthard after so much bad luck this season. And look how he enjoyed his first victory at the British Grand Prix. Well done, David Coulthard, and well done to Eddie Irvine as well. We were worried for a long time about Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill's arch rival. So I'm delighted to say the news of Michael Schumacher is very good. But we leave you with Damon Hill in the points here at Silverstone. He's the crowd's darling. He's done us all proud. Thank you very much for watching the British Grand Prix with us on ITV. Bye-bye.
Live now to Ben McCarthy at Northampton General Hospital, where Michael Schumacher is being treated. Ben, what is the latest there?
Well, Nick, after that terrible crash, Michael Schumacher, as you heard, was flown here by helicopter to Northampton General Hospital. Doctors are still treating him at the moment, and we have no official word as to the exact extent of his injuries, apart from what we understand from the Ferrari team, that he's broken his right leg. What I can tell you, though, is that I spoke to a couple of the Ferrari team when they came to visit him, and as they left, I said, you know, what's his condition? And they said, fine, he's in good shape. So it seems that after such a high-impact crash as you saw there, he's a very lucky man.
Any indication when Schumacher will be back racing?
Well, this is a huge letdown and a disappointment for Schumacher. He was determined to win his third World Championship, and Ferrari, the team he drives for, haven't won anything for 20 years. And it looks, as you heard, that Schumacher's going to be out. The suggested estimate is for about 6 weeks. He'll miss 3 races, so it's going to be a real uphill struggle now for him. But he is an extremely determined man. He's a driver at the peak of his career, so I think it would be foolish to write him off just yet.
Ben McCarthy, thank you very much.
It's fantastic for me to win this Grand Prix. I think the British fans can be happy because it would have gone either my way or with Eddie. You know, clearly some thoughts go to Michael and hoping that he makes a speedy recovery, and obviously benefited from Mika's misfortune. But anyway, nonetheless, I was there at the end, and it's a great feeling to win this Grand Prix.
Tell us about your emotions, though, because you really needed this one, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and it was difficult after the last stop, because after I didn't want to look at my pit board, because I didn't want to start to lose concentration. But when I knew there was a chance to win this race, it was quite difficult to focus, because I was so desperate to do well here, and I knew obviously for the home crowd it would be great if we could have a British team and a British driver win.
What did you see when Michael came down the inside of you? The wheels all locked up.
Just very dirty on the inside. Like the track looked as if it hadn't been brushed, and it's just very dirty on the inside, and it just seemed to lock up and go straight on. But the sand traps, it's no good. They need to go up.
I got informed by the pits that Michael is basically all right, and that they've flown him to the hospital just to check his leg. and more I don't know at present. So as soon as I'm back now, I'm going to call him.
Eddie, not a bad result. You can't be too disappointed with that.
2 Jordan cars in the top 5 British Grand Prix, going on holidays tomorrow. Sounds great.
4th place, and I think Damon 5th place. 2 cars in the points. Great job today. For us, a little bit unfortunately that Ralph came through, but well, they went better through the pits. So we did a little mistake there, but okay, nevertheless, good points for us.
If Damon stops, who's going to be replacing him?
Well, first I think you have to ask him, is he going to stop? Because after performances like this, I'm not sure he wants to, but that's up to him, of course. The team are right behind him. The team would like him to continue if it's possible, but, you know, there are overriding factors that Damon has to have priority about. I've my eye on a couple of people, and I think I'm not going to, even as much as I'd like to tell you, Lou, I don't think I will.
Good day for the Brits, I was going to say.
Yeah, no, it was good to see. I had no idea until I saw the TV, so I'm very happy for David after he's come close here before, and it's great he's got it here. Fantastic.
And your abiding memory of this great day, your favourite memory?
I think just coming down, obviously, through the Woodcote corner and seeing those checkered. I was looking desperately for the checkered flags, you know, just to confirm that it was the last lap, and just seeing all the crowd cheering and all that sort of thing. That's you know, this is definitely the best moment in my racing career.
It's the halfway stage, and it's a very low-scoring Drivers' Championship. Irvine's level with Michael Schumacher now, Frentzen 4th, Coulthard jumping up to 5th, and Ralf Schumacher on the podium, but dropping a place. In the Constructors, the gap between Ferrari and McLaren's down to a couple of points. 5 more points for Jordan keeps them 3rd. Ralf Schumacher keeping the Williams scoreboard ticking. Well, news on Michael Schumacher. He has indeed broken his right leg. He's had surgery at Northampton General Hospital. 6 weeks seems to be the time he's going to be out. But very significantly, Ferrari accepting that the rear brakes failed totally, Tony. Very unusual.
Highly unusual in the high-tech world of Formula One, and just showing what a disastrous season it's been at this midpoint for Ferrari after the Canadian crash, after the water in the steering wheel in France. Now, just look at that. Now, I'd been saying earlier on that he was quite unhappy about the car, which he was, with an imbalance. He said he was disappointed in it. But looking at that again, seeing what a lucky man he is there, he is drafting Eddie Irvine going down the straight. He was angry because Eddie Irvine had squeezed him out. Damon Hill said the safety car signs were already out. He was oblivious to that. He wanted to get the place. That there, he hits the brake pedal, 190 miles per hour. And as we're told now, they failed, and on he went hugely into those tyre barriers.
What about that gravel trap? That did nothing.
No, it didn't do anything. And we've been, look at that. Look at the velocity of that car. It is not arrested at all by the gravel trap, and that's why the GPDA and certainly Sid Watkins as well from the medical advisory board on the FIA said we've got to change those into tarmac. GPDA hoping to have a meeting with the FIA on that.
There's the wave that told us that it wasn't as bad as we first thought, thankfully. Been a wonderful day here, though, for David Coulthard, and perhaps the most significant moment in the race when he nipped ahead of Eddie Irvine coming out of the pits.
Scots were here, that's straight for the lads, you know, but he'd made a great pit stop before that. Eddie Irvine waited a little bit longer, then he missed his slot. He took 12 seconds on the stop, and Coulthard had really put the hammer down to come across and chop across his nose at the end of the pit lane there and take the decisive victory there, because he went on to take the checkered.
Absolutely dreadful day for the big two. Michael Schumacher we know about, and Mika Hakkinen lost a wheel to compound a very miserable afternoon.
Well, it's a strange one, this, because McLaren, of course, are the most high-tech of all the teams. You know, they even polish their garage floor. It's covered in slate. So every last component is checked, double-checked. Every component supplier has to go through the McLaren mill, and they failed. It wasn't the mechanic's fault at all. The wheel wouldn't go back in, the lugs wouldn't go, the heat on the wheel nut, all those things conspired to eventually give him only 3 wheels.
Damon didn't win. A lovely moment, though, when he led here briefly at Silverstone.
It's a fabulous moment for everybody that's been here at the British Grand Prix to watch their hero over the years. It's the last time that he'll race at Silverstone in front of them. What a great bloke, what an ambassador, what a dignified approach and sportsmanlike approach he's had to his motor racing right the way through, even through all the Schumacher wars over the years. What a brilliant guy, and good luck to Damon.
Absolutely right. Tony, thank you very much. The complete rundown. Coulthard winning for Scotland and Britain. Irvine's best Silverstone finish. Ralf Schumacher, Martin Brundle's driver of the day. Then the Jordans, Frentzen and Hill. Diniz picking up a point for Sauber. Fisichella 7th, that's some consolation for Benetton. Barrichello, Trulli for Prost, and Wurtz in the second, Benetton. Zanardi 11th, Herbert 12th. Panis in the second, Prost. Alesi, Sauber 1 lap behind. 2 laps adrift, Genet and Takagi. Zonta's suspension went. Hakkinen pulled out, but he had the fastest lap. Villeneuve's engine blew. Bedoya and De La Rosa had faulty gearboxes, and Michael Schumacher had that very big off. Well, sadly, Michael Schumacher won't be there. We will be in Austria in a couple of weeks' time. You can see the qualifying on the Saturday, the race live on the Sunday at 12:15 and highlights at 11:45. And that's it then, another very dramatic British Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher crashed out. Damon Hill tugged at all our heartstrings, but the big winner on top of the podium, it's Britain's David Coulthard. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Good night to you all.
Hakkinen lost his left rear, and Coulthard is in front of Irvine.
Damon Hill leading at Silverstone. David Coulthard wins the British Grand Prix for McLaren.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by F1 Racing Magazine is www.itv-f1.com.
Be out of hospital by tomorrow and back behind the wheel in 8 weeks' time. He broke his leg in a crash during yesterday's British Grand Prix. Ferrari say it probably was a brake problem. Our sports reporter Peter Staunton has the latest on Schumacher's progress.
All of which is remarkable considering the force of the head-on impact. Well, this is the spot where Michael Schumacher's car came off yesterday, over the gravel at 100 miles an hour, into the tyre barrier, straight through that, into the rigid wall behind. The miracle was he wasn't more seriously injured. The Schumacher escaped with no more than a broken leg. Peter Staunton, ITN, Silverstone.
So, why did Schumacher lose control, and how did he survive such a high-speed crash with relatively minor injuries? Our science editor Lawrence McGinty has been finding out for this evening's news briefing.
Racing safety has improved enormously in the 5 years since this crash at Imola, which killed the Brazilian driver Ayrton Senna. At the time, Michael Schumacher put into words every driver's thoughts.
The only thing I can say about this is I hope we learn from this. I think there is a lot to learn from, and we have to use this.
Sunday's accident happened at the end of the high-speed Hanger Straight, with Schumacher's speed approaching 180 miles an hour. Going into Stowe Corner, he brakes, but there's a puff of smoke as his front right brake locks up. The other front brake locks too, but the rear brakes don't work, probably due to mechanical failure. He careers off at 170 miles an hour. Hardly touching the gravel trap meant to slow him, he hits the tyre wall at up to 130. Jordan's racing chief designer told me about the changes in design since Imola that saved Schumacher. Most importantly, the stronger safety cell around drivers.
It's much, much stronger than it was 5 years ago. You've also got to ensure that you look after the person strapped in it, because it's not just a case of making it strong. The impact has to be survivable for the driver. And to that aim, we've also got a lot of safety structures around the driver's head.
Schumacher's Ferrari, like all Formula One cars, is designed to exacting safety standards. Drivers are cocooned in a tough safety cell called a monocoque, with a collapsing steering wheel to stop it causing injuries. The nose cone is hardened to withstand impacts, as is the fuel cell, which is lined with the bulletproof material Kevlar to reduce the chances of fire after a crash.
One of those safety innovations is this immensely strong carbon fibre seat introduced for this season. In the event of an accident, rescuers can strap the driver to the seat and lift him clear of the wreckage.
But racing can never be risk-free. Martin Brundle walked away from this. But in today's racing cars, those injuries are less likely to kill you.
Racing, the German-US motor group Daimler Chrysler is to take a 40% stake in Tag McLaren, the British racing car manufacturer. The deal includes the Formula One racing team that triumphed in yesterday's Grand Prix. The purchase is the latest move into Formula One by a major car manufacturer. In the past month, Ford acquired the Stewart racing team for £50 million. Now the news in the time.
For Grand Prix following his crash at Silverstone yesterday, and says he now has no hope of winning the championship. He's had surgery for a broken leg at Northampton General Hospital. He's expected to be released tomorrow and admits that he's lucky to be alive.
It was the moments which struck horror into everyone who saw it. Michael Schumacher hurtling arrows straight towards the barrier and powerless to do anything about it. In that instant, it was chillingly reminiscent of the crash which caused Ayrton Senna's death 5 years ago. But this time, the safety improvements made since to cars and tracks had averted disaster, as the Ferrari team acknowledged today.
Fortunately, the cars are very strong. It's a lot which has been done on safety, and I wonder what would have happened a few years ago with such an accident.
Doctors say Michael Schumacher will remain in hospital for at least another day after having a metal plate inserted in his broken leg. He's expected to make a full recovery, but he'll be out of action for a minimum of 2 months. And his team will want to know what went wrong. Tests on his car suggest rear brake failure.
The data we have is certainly not inconsistent with that. And further investigation will show what happened. But it was certainly not an ordinary accident. It wasn't a question of him simply going too fast and losing control.
Meanwhile, other drivers are concerned that the wide gravel trap didn't appreciably slow him down.
If you have a spinning car, then definitely gravel works very well. But as we've seen many times before, if you have a car going straight, then it doesn't do anything for you. The key thing is that the car should never be able to penetrate the tyre barrier and hit the wall at the other side, which I think happened in Michael's case.
In the pits, they'll also inevitably be asking what effect such a smash will have on the man and his nerve.
Well, this is the first time that Michael Schumacher has injured himself, and that's going to make him aware of his own vulnerability now. He will get right back to that dominant form he's had, but it'll take a while. I can see it being next year.
Overall, though, Formula One is feeling collective relief. Its safety measures have worked, and though its principal star's World Championship hopes have gone this year, at least he'll be back. Kevin Geary, BBC News.
Right leg in the British Grand Prix at Silverstone yesterday. A rear brake failure is thought to be the reason for the high-speed crash, which of course ended Schumacher's world title challenge.
Ferrari shipped out of Silverstone this morning, leaving their prize asset behind. It was time for the Constructors' Championship leaders to move on. It just won't be as fast without Michael Schumacher leading the way. The two-time champion crashed at a speed approaching 130 miles per hour. His rear brakes failed as he pulled ahead of teammate Eddie Irvine on the approach to Stowe Corner. The German broke 2 bones in his right leg and will miss both the Austrian and German Grand Prix. One of the first men on the scene was British Grand Prix Chief Medical Officer Dr. David Cranston.
He was brought to this resuscitation bay. We have 4 of them here, as you see, which are fully equipped with the latest technology monitoring equipment, which you'd expect to find in any advanced trauma unit in a district general hospital in Great Britain.
Silverstone has one of the best medical centres in Formula One. More than 40 doctors are on duty during the race, 17 trackside, all of which help Schumacher keep his cool.
Very composed. He's very calm, obviously in some degree of pain. I have to say I was very impressed with him, as I think I would, in fact, I know I am with most of the Formula One drivers.
All day, well-wishers gathered at Northampton General Hospital, some with gifts, others just hoping to catch a glimpse of their hero.
Probably he had a brake problem, but we have to investigate, and of course as soon as we will have further information we will be able to let you know.
The ineffectiveness of the gravel trap in slowing down the Ferrari will also be looked into. Michael Schumacher will be out of action for at least 6 weeks, missing the Austrian and German Grand Prix. But bookmakers have already taken bets from the Tifosi, who believe their man will be back in the lead come the end of the summer. Nick Walton, Sky News.
A far more sedate pace for David Coulthard this morning, and why not? He was celebrating his British Grand Prix win until the early hours, and so it was no surprise that his immaculate drive at Silverstone wasn't quite reproduced on the golf course. It was a day out in aid of charity for the F1 elite, of course, with one notable absentee, Michael Schumacher.
I've had a report from the hospital this morning. He's had a good night, he's had his breakfast, and he's starting to bitch about going home, so situation normal.
And that's just it. Crashes are normal. The only thing out of the ordinary is that this time it was the double world champion.
You know, Michael actually is one of the hardest working drivers when it comes to safety, so it's you know, makes it doubly bad that he's had that accident. But you know, we want to be racing against the best drivers in the world. Clearly he is one of the best, and you know, we want him back in the circuit as soon as possible.
Those who have been in the sport for a while will know that not so many years ago 1 in 10 crashes resulted in death or serious injury. Now it's 1 in 300.
Tremendous. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a great declaration for the progress that's been made. I mean, an accident like that, the only question I would ever ask the doctors or the officials, is the driver all right? Now, from my point of view, all right is alive.
Schumacher's crash at Silverstone was the most serious of his career. Every driver knows the risks involved in Formula One, but the real test of character will come when he returns to the track. Ricardo Zonta broke his leg after an accident in the Brazilian Grand Prix earlier this year. There's little doubt Schumacher will be back as well, but will he be the same driver?
You know, he has babes and wife, and if he now think about the family, I think, and you know, can be difficult for him.
Zonta, Coulthard and the rest head for Austria next. Schumacher should be back for Monza in September. Ollie Foster, Sky News, Buckinghamshire.
Well, I guess tonight is Bob Mackenzie, the motor racing correspondent from the Express. Good evening to you, Bob.
Good evening, Chris.
It's been a hell of a weekend, hasn't it? Fair to say, first of all, I mean, a lot of people have been criticising safety and the effect of the gravel. Well, we saw that horrible crash there. We all think back to the horrors of the Ayrton Senna crash. I mean, take away the tyres, then Schumacher would be not around tonight, would he?
No, that's quite true. When it happened yesterday, it brought back, for me, that certainly the memories. It looked very reminiscent of the Ayrton Senna crash. Straight off, straight line, no attempt to turn the wheel. The difference now is that because of Senna's death, enough changes have been made, enough improvements have been made that the tyre walls took all the energy and allowed him to come out with a broken leg.
It's great to see then that the lessons had been learned from that crash, because you know, changes were made and it saved a life.
Huge changes have been made. You know, if you can say that someone died and left a legacy of life behind, then Ayrton Senna certainly did, because Professor Sid Watkins, has been striving to make cars better, circuits better, tyre walls better, just to allow drivers to have an even chance at when you crash at 200 miles an hour.
However, there have been criticisms. Eddie Irvine, for one, saying that the gravel simply didn't do its job and it didn't slow the car down. He'd like to see that changed. Would you agree with that?
Yes, although I spoke to Watkins and Max Moser, the president of the FIA today, and their attitude is not that they're not doing anything. It's simply that it's such a complicated issue that they have a team of experts working on this problem. Irvin's solution is to increase the slope and have the cars run up. But Watkins says that in trials it appears that the cars might take off and go over the barrier. So they're striving, they're looking at maybe even scrapping gravel traps, going on to high grip tarmac, which would stop the cars. But another point here is that there's a bit of a mystery as to why Schumacher did not turn the wheel and dig the wheels in and that's something they're going
Yes.
to have to speak to Michael about.
Didn't perhaps lock up or something?
Normally that's the
Yeah.
procedure. You drive straight on in, but then you twist the wheels dig in, and the car is then juddered to a halt. But he didn't do it for some reason.
Yeah. The other plus point to come out of this is the strength of the cars these days. Just want to show you some pictures of a crash in Australia this morning. Formula 4 this was, and it just goes to show the strength. Well, you can see this horrendous pile up this morning, and the guy simply got out of that car this morning and wriggled out, no problem at all, walked away, and he was driving an hour later, which just goes to show, because I know IndyCar as well, I've seen some horrendous smashes in that. You think that nobody could possibly get out alive, and yet they simply do, don't they? I mean,
they do.
Have Formula 1 cars now been based on the Indy cars, which have always been very, very strong, haven't they?
Indy cars have always been stronger, slow. They're not as sophisticated, but they are very strong, and Formula 1 has had to come into line with that. Again, it's sometimes safer for a driver if the car flips, because the roll bar will keep the head off, the straps will keep them tight in, and you inevitably see people just undoing the strap, getting out and walking back to the pits for another car.
Now, when you get crashes of this nature, it does obviously put some drivers in the mood where they think, do I really want to go on? Now, Damon Hill has been thinking about his future. How do you read the Damon Hill situation? I mean, a crash like that, would that maybe sway him to say, let's pack it up now?
It's interesting. He went to see Michael Schumacher in hospital today. Now, here's a man who's been swaying backwards and forwards for the last 3 weeks about whether or not he should leave because he wants to spend more time with his family. I think if I went in and were Damon, and you saw Michael sitting there with his leg in plaster and the best driver in the world, I think that might sway me to quit. But in Damon's case, he had a very good race at Silverstone, and Eddie Jordan feels that he might just continue until the end of the season.
Okay, well, talking of Eddie Jordan, he's been speaking about Damon today and his future. Here's what he had to say.
Damon, with all the difficult decisions that have to be made and also the media pressure, I thought he behaved so well. He did a great job, and everybody knows what a talented driver the Frenzen is at the moment. He's one of the quickest on the circuit. For Damon to be right there with him all weekend, it shows that Damon absolutely has the speed. We just, if it's possible for him to continue.
All those decisions you were talking about, they're all his, are they?
Not altogether his, but it's easier if a driver really doesn't want to drive. There's not much you can do about that. Damon will make his decision quite soon. He needs time to reflect over all sorts of different things that were either said or how he feels about motor racing himself, because after all, he is the pro, and he needs to know exactly where he's going. I'm quite confident that we haven't seen the end of Damon in Grand Prix racing.
With Jordan, I presume?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, we have an agreement. I mean, there's no question. He's very happy with the team. I don't think that's ever been the issue. It's just that he hasn't really liked the cars. But there's a lot of good races coming up now that he likes. And I think yesterday, if he does continue, will have been, the perfect kickstart to get it going again.
So we wait to hear from Damon Hill. Now, Bob, your paper, The Express, has a story tomorrow on Eddie Irvine. His future, will it be with Ferrari? What do you think?
Yes, I think it probably will be. Eddie has been told, he had a very pleasing phone call last night from Ferrari saying, you're the man for us, we're behind you all the way, you'll be the world champion, we'll put everything in there. He sees this as his big opportunity. He'll seize it.
Just hearing, in fact, MIA, that Mika Salo is to test for Ferrari. Does that come as a surprise?
No, not at all. I think you'll find that Mika Salo is the man who's already been signed up to take Schumacher's place.
All right, well, don't go away, Bob, because there's one other Formula 1 story around as well tonight. The chief executive of Brands Hatch, Nicola Falston, has offered £43 million to the British Racing Drivers Club in a bid to buy Silverstone. If she does gain control, the British Grand Prix could be split between the two venues in future.
It was only in May that Nicola Falston announced that she would be bringing the British Grand Prix back to Brands Hatch. The Kent circuit has witnessed some great races over the years. Back in 1964, Jim Clark won the British Grand Prix here. And would you believe it was Nigel Mansell who won the very last British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch back in 1986. Silverstone has staged the race ever since then, and very successfully. Recently, there have been criticisms over attempts to switch the British Grand Prix back to Brands Hatch in 2002 for a minimum period of 6 years.
Is it going to happen? Is she going to buy it?
Depends on the BRDC members. You know, many of them are drivers, but whether they want 60,000, I think it's about 50,000–60,000 pounds each they can get, depends on her persuasive powers. Maybe she'll have to up the money even more. But I wonder if she's bitten off a little bit more than she can chew here, because she's got the rights to the Grand Prix, but maybe she finds she's going to have to invest too much at Brands Hatch and really needs to buy Silverstone.
But briefly, Brands Hatch with a lot of work to do, yeah?
Or at least £20 million worth. Yes.
Bob, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for coming and joining us tonight.
Schumacher, who crashed during Sunday's Grand Prix at Silverstone, will take several months to recover from the accident.
Michael Schumacher's departure from hospital proved to be almost as dramatic as the finish to any Grand Prix. It came after surgeons reviewed his condition this morning and concluded that he'd made extremely good progress. Once in the ambulance, Schumacher was given a police escort towards the motorway as he was taken to meet a private plane at an airfield in Northamptonshire. A hospital spokesman issued a brief statement on his behalf.
Michael particularly asked us to express his thanks and to say how overwhelmed he was to receive all of the best wishes from his fans.
Schumacher's hopes of becoming Ferrari's first world champion for 20 years ended on Sunday with a crash at Silverstone which left him with a broken right leg. He's now likely to miss at least 4 of the last 8 races in the Formula One calendar.
Injuries in a normal person may take, on average, anything from 3 to 4 months to heal. Michael is clearly a very determined gentleman, a very fit gentleman, but also what's come over is his objectivity about the injuries he's sustained.
This afternoon, Schumacher arrived in Switzerland by air ambulance as motorsport's governing body announced that further safety measures may be implemented as a result of the crash. Michael Schumacher is expected to spend several weeks completing his recovery at a private clinic in Switzerland before returning to his home in Geneva. And he's told doctors here that he remains determined to race again this season. Paul Newman, BBC News at Northampton General Hospital.